Hello and welcome. Here at Bima Hakika, we look at people's financial plans every single day. And we see something over and over again, a huge misunderstanding right at the core of how people think about money. See, most people are focused on building an income, which is great, but very few are deliberately engineering lasting wealth. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the architecture of what it really means to be wealthy.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a pretty serious question. And I want you to be really honest with yourself here. If your salary, your business revenue, all of it, just stopped tomorrow, could your family carry on as normal? I don't just mean survive, I mean truly function without immediate crushing panic. That one question, it gets to the very heart of everything we're talking about. And this right here, this shows the huge difference. On one side, you've got earning well. You know the look, the high income, the impressive lifestyle, all the visible stuff that we admire, especially here in Kenya. But then you've got wealthy, and that's all about what you don't see. The tough, resilient structure, the deep reserves of cash, the financial permanence. They are not the same thing, not even close. Look, this is the uncomfortable truth we see every day. We meet highly successful professionals, brilliant business owners, who are actually financially fragile. Their amazing income creates a very comfortable lifestyle, sure, but it hasn't necessarily created security, and we have to remember, comfort is not the same as stability.
So, how do you figure out where you actually stand? Well, we use a simple diagnostic tool we call the Everything Stops test. It's a quick and, to be honest, a pretty brutal way to see just how fragile your finances might be. So let's run through it. Just imagine that tap of income shuts off tomorrow.
What happens with school fees? Do you get that email? You know the one, the dreaded email from the school about the outstanding balance? Do you have to have that really tough conversation with the headmaster?
And the bank? What about the bank? Do those calls start rolling in about the mortgage, the car loan? How fast does that pressure start to ramp up?
And hey, if you're a business owner, what about your company? Can you still make payroll? Pay your suppliers on time? Or does the whole operation just freeze because your personal income and the business income are really the same thing?
So here's the bottom line. If you answered yes to any of those questions, it's not about feeling bad. It doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're in that earning well box right now, not the wealthy one. And just knowing that, well, that's the first massive step to actually changing it.
Okay, so I can already hear what some of you are thinking. But wait, I have assets. And that brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions we see in our market, especially here in Kenya. Let's talk about the difference between having assets and having actual usable liquidity.
Oh yeah, you know this portfolio. We all do. It's the Kenyan dream, right? A couple of prime plots in Katengela, maybe some rental apartments over in Kilimani, a nice farm of country for the family, and of course, a good chunk in the Sako. These are all great assets to have, but they all share one critical weakness.
And boom, here's the problem in a nutshell. You cannot pay hospital bills with a title deed. Think about it. In a real crisis, a medical emergency, a business disaster, you need cash, now. You can't just hand over a title deed to the hospital cashier, can you? Those assets, they're illiquid. You can't turn them into cash quickly without taking a huge hit.
So think about liquidity like this. It is your financial emergency generator, right? When the main power, that's your income, suddenly gets cut, the generator is what kicks in instantly to keep the lights on, to keep your life running smoothly. Without that generator, you are literally in the dark.
So I really want you to ask yourself this. Go on, look at your own balance sheet, the list of things you own. Is that net worth number you see, is it actually usable in a crisis? Or is it just a theoretical number trapped in land and buildings that you can't touch when you need it most? All right, so we've spent some time diagnosing the problem, and that can feel a bit heavy. But now, let's talk about the solution. This is where we stop just earning and we start deliberately building. This is what we call the architecture of wealth.
Let's stick with this construction idea, because it works perfectly. Think of your income, all that money coming in. It's like a huge pile of bricks and materials. Absolutely essential, right? But by itself, it's just a pile. Wealth is something different. That's the foundation poured deep into the ground. It's the hidden steel frame. It's the unseen structure that gives the whole building the strength to get through any storm.
So, how do you build this structure? What's the blueprint? Well, it all rests on four main pillars. Number one, you have to intentionally engineer liquidity, create those cash reserves. Number two, you manage all your risks. We're talking about proper insurance. 3, you document your estate, a will, trusts, making sure everything transitions smoothly. And number 4, and this is huge for business owners, you ensure business continuity so the business can thrive even without you.
Because really, at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to. True wealth isn't what you earn. It's not even what you own. It's the structure you build that survives you. And listen, that does not happen by accident. It has to be built intentionally.
Okay, so let's bring all this theory right back home to you right now. I want to give you a personal, immediate action you can take. Think of it as a structural integrity check on your own financial house.
All right, pen and paper time, or just use your phone. Here's your first assignment. I want you to calculate one number, just one. Take your total liquid cash, and I mean money you could get your hands on today, not in a week, and divide that by your total monthly household expenses. Everything. The number you get, that is your survival runway in months. That is probably the single most important number you need to know for your financial security.
So I want to leave you with this one final thought, because it really wraps up everything we've talked about today. Income builds your lifestyle, and that's fantastic. But structure is what builds a legacy.
Now, if this whole explainer has kind of challenged you to think differently, then your work is really just getting started. To get the practical, step-by-step guides on how to build each one of those pillars we talked about, I really encourage you go subscribe to the Dynasty Blueprint podcast and, of course, the Bima Hakika YouTube channel for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks so much for joining us.